I can't believe it's taken me this long to make a meatloaf video. Well, here we are. Now, let's get started. Now, surprisingly, we're not going to start with the meatloaf itself, we're going to actually start with mushrooms. And I know it's debatable whether or not you should wash your mushrooms, but I definitely wash my mushrooms. I mean, there's dirt on them. Do you really want to eat dirt? I suggest washing them. You're not going to lose your flavor or anything like that. They're going to be fine. So anyway, after I'm done washing them, I'm just going to chop them up. I'm going to mince them very, very fine because this is going to go inside of our meatloaf. I know that sounds very odd, but mushrooms in a meatloaf is delicious. Next, I'm going to cook them because there's a lot of moisture in mushrooms. And if you put them in uncooked, you might get a soggy meatloaf, and I know because I've actually done that before. In a medium saucepan, I put in some olive oil, I added my mushrooms, and then I'm going to put in a bunch of salt, and the salt is not just a seasoning, but it's also going to help get that moisture out. And this is going to take a little while. This took me about 10 to 15 minutes. It might take a little bit longer. I just have this over medium-low heat because I don't want to burn them. And this is looking pretty good. Now I'm going to put that to the side and let it cool. I preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and now it's time to get started on the meatloaf itself. This is 90-10. You can use any type of ground beef that you want. You can use 80-20 if you'd like. I prefer using a leaner meat because this meatloaf is actually moist on its own, and I want the leaner meat because it actually holds its shape a little bit better. Next, I added in an egg, some Italian breadcrumbs, some onion, my mushrooms, and I'm also mincing up some garlic. That's going to add some really nice flavor. And then after my garlic, I'm going to add some seasoning. I'm going to add some salt, some pepper, a little bit of smoked paprika, and then I'm going to add some fresh parsley. And next, this is usually the part where you add ketchup or even barbecue sauce, and sometimes I use barbecue sauce, but today we're using steak sauce. I really like using steak sauce in my meatloaf. It adds a very tangy, smoky flavor, and it just makes this unlike any other meatloaf you've ever had. As you can see, I'm kneading all of my ingredients in there, almost like I'm kneading bread. And once this is looking good, this is going to go onto a baking sheet lined with tinfoil, and that I also sprayed with cooking spray, and I'm going to shape this into the shape of a loaf. You could also make it into the shape of a log. Look, it doesn't have to be perfect, alright? Just as long as it tastes delicious. And once this is all done, I'm actually not completely done yet. I'm going to add a little bit more steak sauce just to give this a nice crust glaze on the outside. And this is going to add even more flavor. It's going to be so good. If you need to add a little bit more, go for it. You can never have too much. Another thing that I suggest is actually mixing a little bit of honey with ketchup and spreading that on the outside. That would actually be very, very good. But I'm going pretty simple today, so just using the steak sauce. And this is going to go into a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for 45 to 50 minutes, and after 45 to 50 minutes, it should look completely done, but just to be sure, I used a thermometer, put that in the thickest part of the meatloaf, and it should be at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember, as you leave it out, it's going to be cooking a little bit more. Let it sit for about 10 minutes before you start serving. Be sure to trim that fat off the sides, make it look presentable, put it on a plate, and I should have topped this with a little bit more fresh parsley just to make it look prettier, but it looks fine on its own. I'm just going to slice this up. This is still pretty hot, but not so hot that it falls apart as I slice into it. Now that is looking good, isn't it? This smells terrific. I cannot wait to dig in. Now, you can make a sauce for this or a gravy, and this is actually very good with gravy, but today I'm feeling kind of lazy. I didn't make anything for the top of this, but that's okay because this is delicious on its own. It is moist, it is tasty, it is tangy, it is smoky. The mushrooms add a nice umami flavor, you got the onion, you got the garlic, and it just all goes together so well to make the perfect meatloaf and a perfect meal for the family to enjoy on any night. And this also makes great leftovers. You can make sandwiches out of them, add it to soup, or you could just do what I really enjoy, and that's actually frying it up in a pan. Whatever you decide to do, I promise you, you will not be disappointed by this recipe. Alright guys, I hope you all enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.